I really don't know how to properly start a conversation like this. Other than, I guess, the best part to begin would be to give the disclaimer that the subject matter that I'll be discussing is an incredibly triggering thing for many. It's something you want to make sure you're ready for because I'm going to be talking about mental health, the pain and sorrow that leads inevitably to sometimes contemplating irreversible decisions. But the type of creative, educator, friend, and ally in this whole thing I want to be means transparency. It means sharing things that help give a little bit of authenticity, but beyond that, give an understanding and perspective to the things we try to teach. So I wrestled with this because I'm still living this. But the reality is that I don't know if I'll ever be fully out of what I'm about to talk about. But this is part of my therapy. I so much want to control a narrative that while I've had successes and that I'm and while I've had successes and have had to largely feel good about the things I have accomplished, that there's so much of me that wants to control that nothing has ever hurt me. But they have. They continue to. The things we want in this world, the things we want, the things we need, those whys are so important. You will hear me say, know your whys. I'm not just trying to preach from a point of superiority or I know more than you. It's because really having to acknowledge and accept what drives my needs, what makes my heart complete, is the only way that I'll get out of this thing alive. Because as time has gone on, I've learned that to be able to live a wholehearted life, I have to be creative. Not for the sake of creativity, but because teaching, being creative, imaginative, that's my why. That's my calling, is to try to connect with people, to try to lead them to something better and to see the potential maybe they don't see in themselves. So we often get put into jobs that don't meet that. And they give us a hollow existence and we don't know why we should be happy or we have comfort, we have benefits. But in the end, I've had to learn how to survive my want to be creative. These dreams, these things that inspire me are also the things that smother me with their weight. No time has this been more evident than in the last year and a half. Guilt and shame, they rule our lives. Brene Brown talks about how guilt is a good thing because it helps you be accountable. You want to adjust and learn. But shame is that feeling that what you've done means you can't bear to be even looked at or in the same room as the people who you care about's opinions, the ones that you love. Shame is the thing I feel when I say that more than one occasion in the last year, I wanted to take my own life. Not because I don't want to live, but because living has been so hard. Because some people say you have this wonderful family, this beautiful son, and a wife you've loved for so long, good friends. And I'll say that's one of the reasons. Not because that's not amazing, but because even while having those things, I still feel a hole in here. My son was born in April of 2018, and twice since his birth, I found myself without a career, without a job. So yeah, I felt like I couldn't provide for my family the way that I had been accustomed to and want to continue to do. But even more damning was that I only cared about the comfort. I didn't care about the job I lost. It wasn't the people I'd lost. It wasn't the thing I was doing because, frankly, I didn't want to do it. Even doing creative work for some of it was hollow creative work, making commercials for a bank that I didn't care about, designing things where people were just so false with what they want because it's always product over people. And everyone's trying to sell something. And at the end, I want to actually have worth. I want something that's my own. So when those days came, I just nodded my head and was hurt by the reality that I had not connected to any piece of the things that mattered to me, for me, the thing that I need to be, to how I define myself. Because a job is not enough. We need a calling. So know your whys. What does it matter? Why does it matter? Who am I? Because I've defined a lot of worth by the reality that I'm a gray bearded 37-year-old man. And while that's young in the whole scheme of things, I've been fighting a battle of people telling me how much potential I have and adding weight to this already big dream that I've had because I want something so huge that it just seems like it's bigger than anything I could ever bear. It's not, but it feels like it so often. So after getting laid off and suffering and doing jobs that don't pay the bills well enough and at the same time eat at your soul while applying and dealing with people. So looking at people, bringing you in for interviews, you smile and you look at them as they ask you why you want to be there. And you're trying to find the nugget of truth in the reasoning why. Beyond saying, I need money because, no, I don't care about your insurance company. Of course, why would you even think I would? You need to make me care. Maybe if I come there, meet you, do the things, I can actually care. But instead, you smile and you tell them some diatribe about where you find value in their culture and the things that are based in some level of negative truth that you gleaned. And then you go home and you keep applying or keep doing things that don't matter so much that it numbs your heart. It makes you feel that it's not even worth it. Can you not even get even close to the things that matter? But in the end, it was just feeling the futility of it all. I'll put a lot of focus right now on this creative process and the dream. But it also is the wife who supported me through everything with a smile on her face and fire in her heart to tell me to keep going. The person who's really strong when all I want to do is quit. To give up because giving up feels easier than fighting forward. A time came this spring when I started trying to push my wife away. Almost emotionally tried to distance myself from the son who smiles at me and loves me. Just because I hoped she would leave so that I could go in peace. To her credit, my wife's a fighter. One of the strongest people you would ever know. And she does something that I'm better, and she does something that I'm still trying to be better at, and that's ask for help. She contacted one of my best friends, my partner actually in this whole thing, Mason. And at that point, I'd been working in overnight jobs because as soon as I had lost my other position, I was like going and doing what it took to try to bring money in for my family. I mean, I go from working marketing and creative work to stocking groceries, doing what I could to keep things going. So after a long overnight shift where my mental health was already fracturing, I sit there with little sleep, looking at one of my best friends, a brother in this, his wife, who I had yet to really build a lot of rapport with, my wife and my child, as they sat there telling me how much they're there for me, refusing to let me push away, reminding me how important help is because I'm awful at help. I want to do things myself. I want to control that narrative that I am stronger than I am. And yet here are the people who cared about me or weren't letting me do it. They weren't letting me push them away. And we fought. Not each other, but for this life of mine that I had so diminished the worth of. Because the hard thing about chasing dreams, being creative, wanting to be an entrepreneur, whatever things that put you out there and expose you, is most of the time, while you really feel the bravado of how worth and what you're doing, there's times you might love yourself and hate yourself more than anybody else out there. That at some point that imposter syndrome kicks in. You lack the confidence in your worthiness and you want to give up. Those are the times, whether it be your dream or your life, that you need people the most. And so often we just push away and act like I have the answers on everything. I'm only sharing my experience, and that all I wanted to do was hide and just disappear. One of the only saving graces is one of the fallacies in my personality is that one of the fallacies in my character and my interactions is that I'm awful at goodbyes. They take so much longer than they should. Just to get off the phone, to leave an event, and in this case, to give up, because in my head, all I wanted to do was disappear. I didn't want to die. I just didn't want to go on anymore. I just wanted someone else to tag in, like a tag team partner in wrestling. Me go jump over the rope and be gone while they fought my fight for me. If I could have left without leaving the people I cared about bereft, I would have done it. I would have thought probably that it's better to have a different dad and husband and friend than me. And I wrestle with that shame every day because I still have to look at these people who know that this person they care about so close to doing some horrible thing. Because life is really hard, and it seems more hard all the time because we look around and we see what we think is other people having the lives we want. That people, we start comparing. It's like, I'm more intelligent, I'm more capable, I work harder than this person, they have all this. And yet, every time I reach for it, I get my hand slapped away. What is going on here? That's not necessarily true, and those people don't often have things as well as we think they do. That's the false narrative we give ourselves, what we see on Facebook and other places in social media. We can't look at our own lives and think about why we're blessed. I couldn't let myself just be so blessed by the fact that I have what other people desperately seek. A wife who is my best friend, who enjoys so many things with me and challenges me constantly this far down the line to be a better man. As someone who looks at me with those eyes, watching me, learning from me, playing with me. A relationship that I hope to maintain for a long time. And yet I got lost in my own self-worth and I got lost in my own lack of self-worth. So much that I was willing to give up on this big life that I want to have. It's a weird dichotomy to go from wanting the biggest of lives, not because I want to be wealthy or that kind of level of success, but because the level of change and impact I want to have is bigger than just me. It requires you. It requires Mason. It requires my family and friends and anybody else I can listen to make come true. And it requires this honesty and understanding that I'm going to give advice because I care and because I feel that in my perspective that there's something to it. I'll talk about how I'm horrible about accepting help. But then you'll watch a video if you're so kind. And I'll tell you about the importance of collaboration. Because for me, my collaborators, my wife and my friends and family are the people who they're the people who kept me accountable, kept me fighting, gave me perspective when I didn't have it. Because when you're in it alone, it's so easy to make the bad decision. But I doubt that most of us have people in our little committee, if we collaborate, who would ever let us give up. No friend that when you need it the most would not extend a hand if they really know that they're needed. I've spent a lot of time loving the most amazing things about human beings and also condemning the worst about the character and willingness to be good. And yet, through this whole process, I've been reminded time and time again how wrong I can be, how willing to help, how willing I'm to help you, and how willing, by extension, that listening and participating, collaborating with us, that you're going to help me be better and get me closer where I want to be. The collaborations that are active every day and the ones that we're seeking, They'll have importance, and now you'll know why. When I say to break it into smaller pieces so it's easier to swallow and that you won't choke, it's because my dream was so big that it almost killed me. Because when I couldn't have it and I looked like I was never getting closer to that mountain, I thought that if I can't even get to the mountain to climb it, then why does the journey need to keep going on? So when we talk about these things, it's not just because we're trying to have some catchy superlatives. It's even this whole thing about the escape plan. It's because we don't need to escape into escapism. I spent a lot of time playing games, watching things, talking about my dream instead of doing it, just so that I could feel some level of joy from that, when the real joy would have been in doing it. I want you to escape into reality, a reality that you are willing to do what it takes to make your dream come true, step by step, piece by piece. Looking at this, that it's not any one thing that you have to hang your hat on. Because if I looked at the things that hurt me as losses that I couldn't come back from, then this would have already been over. But instead, I look at it like that massive adventure in a fantasy story, that you have your wins, your losses, but that each one of them makes you fall forward. When you fall and you get back up and you keep going and persevering, finding people who can help you get there. When you get there, you'll realize that that destination was important because it gave you a target. But the journey, the experience, the people you touch along the way will give meaning to your life. I needed meaning because apparently, while I love my wife and my son, being a father and a husband is just one part of who I want to be. My calling isn't that. It's a responsibility and one that I cherish and love. But for me, it's to be that and more. What is your calling? What is the thing that tears at your heart so much you think you're going to fall apart if you don't ever do it? Because you have to accept those whys. Suicide is no joke. Even saying the word out loud after all this talking is hard because it makes me feel so ashamed. Because how do you have the conversations with people you care about? Because often you worry about the things of how are they going to look at you if they believe you, and even worse, how are you going to respond if the people you love think you're seeking attention, that you're full of it, that you don't really feel that way, because deep down they're frightened and angry, and they don't know how to respond, so they try to diminish that. Nah, you're just upset, you're just depressed. Or even worse, if they do believe you, do they shame bomb you so much in the moment when they're hurting because of what you're saying has such weight? I don't know the answer always, other than you feel like one or the other are both bad things, so you don't talk. You don't seek help. You let this thing fester into a wound that you can't come back from. I'm not an expert on anything other than experiencing it. Anything that I say regarding how to deal with it is mostly from my experience. I would seek professional help, but then again, I didn't. So I'd be a hypocrite because for me, the help I got was those that I loved being there for me. And despite the hurt and the disappointment and how much I wrestle with my perceived weakness, having to accept that moving forward, to move forward and to fight that monster that was devouring me from within, to know that it's okay to feel weak, to get broken, that it's not okay to stay broken or to break yourself more. To love yourself. I care about you. I don't know you. But when I look at the mirror, I see myself and I see all the people who I know have to be going through this. Just the other day, social media reminds me of people I grew up with who took their lives in similar situations, being fathers, husbands. And that's partially what inspired this. Because immediately when I heard it, while I mourned the loss of this person, I mourned for myself, embraced that shame again, as it washed over me that I could have been that person that everyone's talking about. The person who destroyed my son's life, the stage broke my wife's heart, my mother, my father, and everyone else who cared about me. And I don't say that to shame anyone else who feels the same way. That's my burden. It's okay to want to give up. It's okay. Because that's the truth. That feeling is real. But acknowledge it and please keep fighting. If you're creative, if you want more, I'm no doctor, but I'm here for you. Connect with people, connect with the community we're trying to build or another one. Listen and know that while I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to anyone who will listen. Connect with us, connect with others. Find connection. That is the strength of this thing. I need you to keep going. For myself, my heart. I have to know that fighting this fight, to go through all this, I looked my close friend in the eye one day when we were talking about all the pain and this thing we're trying to build, and I said, Mason, help me make all this pain and suffering worth it. For these trials and tribulations to have a purpose and a perspective. And I hope that it does. I'm going to fight like hell to make it true. But I hope, beyond hope, that I never go back there fully. That I find a value in this life through the purpose I'm seeking, and that in doing that, that maybe in some small way that I can help you with doing the work, committing yourself to things that give value, surrendering to living this life instead of giving it up. It's a precious thing, and that's the funny thing is I know that it's precious, and that's why it hurts. If you've made it this far, I'm sure that in the description of the video there will be some links to some resources. More out of responsibility than trying to think that you should use them. If you need them, use them and do it without shame. But again, I just feel it's right to direct you that those things exist and that you should leverage them if needed. But in the end, my advice, flawed as it may be, is to do whatever it takes to keep fighting. Don't push people away. Grab them close. Make them listen. If you can handle it, find whatever connections you need. Can't find the people soon enough? Find the work. Find ways to get involved, to always have something to do and look forward to. Please. I'm sorry. To anybody who I love who is not aware that this even was happening because they're used to that big grin and a goofy smile. I'm sorry to all those who I love who had no idea this was a problem. Because outside of my wife and a few close people, nobody knows. Nobody. My mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, coworkers and friends outside of my closest circle had no idea how close I was to dying. Because even while I try to deal with the shame of it all, of the people who I did tell, I still haven't had the strength to sit down at a table, look people in the eye who, without fear of judgment or dismissal, and tell them that I love them and that I'm so sorry. And I'm so incredibly sorry. That for those moments, I just wanted to go. I did. And sometimes I still have to wrestle with that little bit trying to creep in each day when things are tough. So in a way, this is my mental health. So in some ways, this is my mental health coming out party. I had my intervention with those who were there closest, and I'm so thankful for them. I'm thankful for you. a little afraid of what putting a, and a little afraid of what putting a, I'm a little afraid. I'm a little afraid of what putting this out there will mean. But I'm stronger today than I was when this happened. And while it's still so hard and so fresh, I want to be honest. I have to be. So, thank you.